you are over 40 and feel more sluggish during the day, you are not alone. Hormonal changes, stress, and lifestyle habits can all affect your energy levels. Today I will share 4 simple changes that can make a real difference. Salam and hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you are all doing very well. Let's dive into these 4 changes and see if they might be able to make a difference in your life. So the first, I want you to consider what adaptogens you are using and how to use them wisely. I've talked about adaptogens on my channel before, but the 2 that I want to talk about today or in today's video are maca root and rhodiola. Now, maca root is really good for mood, stamina, and energy, especially for women who are in perimenopause. And I dive really into maca root in this channel here because I think it might be beneficial for some women who haven't tried it before. Now, rhodiola, for example, is good when women are struggling with mental focus and midday energy dips and stress and fatigue. And this is something that can happen to anybody, but because we are at a certain time in our lives when we are going through the menopause transition, it might be really good for us to focus on things that will help us. Now, many of us who were born and raised in the West may not know too much about herbal medicines, whether our parents or our grandparents used it and didn't pass down that information to us, or we've never heard of it. It doesn't even matter. At this point, you know that they exist and they can be beneficial for us. As a pharmacist, I do believe there is a time and a place for herbal medicines, and I do think that adaptogens and just using it on a day-to-day basis to keep you healthy and your immune system up to par and your stress levels low can be a good thing for you. So one thing I want you to do is anytime you're starting a herbal medicine or an over-the-counter agent or supplement, always start at a low dose and monitor how you feel. Another thing I do want to mention is that if you are taking other prescription medications or even over-the-counter medications, to consult your local pharmacist or even your own personal physician to ask them whether there might be any drug-drug interactions or drug-food interactions. I'm always supportive of women who want to try natural remedies to feel better and to get better, but it's always important to know what you're taking and how you're taking it. Now, also know that adaptogens don't replace sleep or good nutrition, which I'm going to get into more specifically in this video as well. But always keep that in mind, that these adaptogens support your system and they support your energy. So it can be good to start that as well. The second thing I want you to consider is your sleep quality. Now, when I was reading the Menopause Brain, now this is a book that I bought a while ago, and I've always looked at it to get some information on how our brain is working during this transition period. And I found an interesting statistic that Dr. Lisa Mosconi mentioned in this book. And she said women who are in the perimenopause or postmenopause transition, we women don't even get 7 hours of sleep. And that, I think her statistic was 50% of women in that perimenopause transition or over don't get at least 7 hours of sleep, compared to 70% of premenopausal women who get at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Let me say that again. 50% of us who are in the perimenopause transition and over, or in the menopause transition and over, we don't even get 7 hours of sleep per day. But women who are premenopausal, 70% of premenopausal women do get those 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So you can see the shift. It's not even that large amount of years between being premenopausal and perimenopausal. Some women get to that transition when they hit the age of 40 and above. So when you turn 40 and above, you might start to struggle with sleep quality. So it's going to be important for you to do several things that can really help you manage sleep. And one is to consider your sleep hygiene. How you are preparing to sleep really matters, including turning off blue lights 1 hour before sleeping, not eating heavily before bedtime, not drinking heavily before bedtime, which I'm going to get into that too, about staying hydrated and the best time to stay hydrated. So these are things that you're going to want to consider if you are having a problem staying asleep and even getting to that place where you are getting into a nice, comfortable place where you are sleeping. So keeping a consistent bedtime and wake time is going to be really important. And also consider that when you have poor sleep habits, they tend to trigger cortisol spikes throughout the day. Now, your cortisol naturally rises in the morning because you are waking up and you're considering all the things you have to do to get ready for work or for school or things you have to do for other people outside of yourself. So cortisol will naturally rise. But when you have those spikes in cortisol throughout the day, they can be most likely linked to not getting that good quality sleep. So think about how that's going to play into your life, especially if you are finding yourself unfocused and moving slow throughout the day. So these are just some things that I want you to consider. Now, the third thing on the list is I want you to consider hydration. And I alluded to hydration just a minute ago. It's best to be hydrated earlier in the day. And the reasons why is that you have an emptier stomach, and that can help you with getting in the necessary amounts of fluids that are good for you. So we're not talking about coffee, we're not talking about caffeine, we're not talking about soda or energy drinks. We're just talking about pure plain water that is necessary to help you detox, number one. So hydration affects your energy, your cognitive function, and your digestion. And aim for consistent sips throughout the morning and the afternoon because, as I said before, you don't want to drink too much water towards bedtime or in the afternoon or in the evening. That's what a lot of us can do sometimes. We're like, oh, I forgot to drink my 1 gallon of water. I'm falling behind. So at 6 p.m., let me start to drink more water before I go to bed. That's a no-no because you tend to get up during the night multiple times, and that disrupts your sleep. I tend to do this too. I tend to forget to get in my water and then drink too much at night, and then you have a hard time staying asleep. Some of you might even, your kidneys just might be super powered to get you going out throughout the night to use the bathroom. And it is what it is. But if you can help yourself, try to drink earlier in the day so that you're not drinking too close to bedtime. And also, there is concern that if you drink too much water, you might have an imbalance of your sodium levels. So then in that case, I would suggest that you add an electrolyte to your water. I do add electrolytes, but sometimes I add them when I am working out or on the days in which I work out. So you might want to consider adding, electrolytes if you exercise a lot or if you sweat heavily or if you drink caffeine. So just consider that. And the fourth thing that I want you to consider if you are feeling sluggish over 40 is to be very mindful of your food choices. At this stage, it's going to be really important for us women who are over 40 to prioritize our protein, to prioritize our healthy fats, and to prioritize our fiber. Fiber is often forgotten about, but I always try to tell women that consider how much fiber you're eating, because not only does it keep you regulated with regards to your bowel movements, but it's really important for you to feel satiated and not feel like you are hungry and lacking of certain nutrition, so that you're just reaching for anything in your sight to keep you full and keep you full and not being hungry. So also, fiber helps stabilize blood sugar. So it's going to be really important to help us not only with the insulin spikes, but with our cortisol and our satiated appetite during the day. Midday sluggishness often comes from those blood sugar spikes, which then leads to immediate crashes because some of us are prone to taking in candy or quick snacks, even granola bars as midday snacks. But I think I'm going to get into this because granola bars can be a very big culprit when we are trying to either stay in a calorie deficit or eat better. Granola bars we might think are good for us, but not always. And that's something I think I want to dive into a little bit more in another video. So I want you to consider that instead of reaching for candy or granola bars, think about a very good protein bar that has more protein than calories. I think that's something I also need to get into so that you understand what I mean. But if you're not too sure, try to eat healthy fruit. Your low calorie, low sugared fruit like the berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries with some high protein yogurt. Also think about if you are okay with not being too carb conscious, but carb conscious enough, think about apples, bananas, oranges. Those are very good at getting your energy up, but not being too overwhelming to, your carb count. And that's only if you are not in a very restrictive carb count for the day. Some of you are on the keto diet, which is fine. I don't have anything against the keto diet, but I just want you to be conscious of what type of sugar you are taking in throughout the day and how it's going to help you. Ultimately, you want to reduce those ultra processed foods and the high sugars or refined carbs. So that included the granola bars, for example. And then another thing you want to also consider is how your body is responding to caffeine. Some women feel that they need that mid-afternoon caffeine to get them through the day. And I do understand, and I just want you to consider how much caffeine you're drinking and after what time. If it's coffee that is your go-to, just consider how much coffee you are drinking. If it's black tea or green tea you are drinking, just consider how much you are drinking and at what time you are drinking during the day. Because if you drink it like too close to 6 p.m., and I think that's the cutoff time, research has shown that caffeine really does take a long time to reach its half-life. So if you're drinking too late in the day, you're going to be more wired to stay up until that caffeine can, get out of your system, until you can excrete it. So, as a woman over 40, I know that we are probably trying to manage a lot of things in our life, and our energy is starting to dip, and it's a part of aging at the same time. That's why we need to find ways to rectify that and get things that can benefit us, introduce those things into our life, because we are all aging. There is no way to escape that, but there are ways that we can adapt. There are ways that we can adjust so that we are keeping up with ourselves as we age. So the things that we're going to be doing now are going to be a benefit for us, as we get older. So your 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old self is going to thank you for all the work you did up front to do your research and to do your due diligence on how you can feel better as you're aging. So let's find ways to reduce the amount of sluggishness that we're feeling. Let's find ways to eat healthier. Let's find ways to just do better for ourselves as we're getting older. So I'll leave links to the adaptogen video below, as well as a few other links that I think might help you understand better ways to improve your sleep hygiene, to stay hydrated, and to be mindful of your food choices, especially with regards to our protein and our carbs. And I do thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.